Paul illustrates it with an evocative image, verse 14. He says, "But thanks be to God, who in Christ always leads us in triumphal procession, and through us spreads the fragrance of the knowledge of him everywhere." Amid the struggle and strain as we bear our cross, what do? The apostle says, we give thanks. Now, this is remarkable. This is very unnatural. In my flesh, I want to complain. I want to murmur. Paul says, no. This is a privilege for which we thank God. How provocative. The apostle puts a fine point on it with this metaphor of the triumphal procession. Maybe you have visited Rome, you've been to the Colosseum, and you've seen Titus's arch. There it has the relief of the spoils of Jerusalem being carried into Rome. This happened in 71 AD after the temple was destroyed the previous year. And in this sort of triumphal procession, you had the trumpeters at the front, and then there was the conquering king, in this case, Vespasian, the emperor, and his son Titus, who was the general. And behind them are all the slaves, the important dignitaries and leaders from Jerusalem with their hands bound. And then you had the flute players, and then you had the incense, and then you had the Roman soldiers with garlands around their necks. And then finally the slaves at the very end. And they would be led to the Capitoline Hill in the Roman Forum, where many of them would be executed. That's the image that Paul invokes here. And where does he see himself in this parade, in this triumphal procession? He's taking up the rear. He's one of those slaves, one of those captives. He's a prisoner of Christ, you see. Again, he says, God in Christ leads us in triumphal procession. On the road to Damascus, Paul was captured by the conquering king. And now he is being led along. Here's how he puts it in 1 Corinthians 4 and verse 9. "For I think that God has exhibited us apostles as last of all, like men sentenced to death, because we have become a spectacle to the world, to angels and to men. We are fools for Christ's sake. But you, super apostles, are wise in Christ. We are weak, but you are strong. You are held in honor, but we in disrepute." There's a fragrance to this experience. From the world's point of view, it is repulsive. Look at you, Paul. You're pathetic. You're a slave. Every city you go to, they pick up stones and they try to kill you. How can you possibly represent the King of glory? That's what it looks like from the ground level, you see. But from the vantage point of heaven, Paul, who's at the rear, belongs to the triumphal procession. Because this king, Jesus, is not bringing him to the Capitoline Hill to be executed. No, he's bringing him to glory, to his Father's kingdom, you see, where Paul will live in the glorified presence of Jesus forever and ever and ever.